Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasts.
At what point do you draw that line between abuse and torture?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to True Crime Connections. I'm Tiffany, your host, and today I'm here with Kristof Morrow, who is here to share his story. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. You're very kind, actually, Tiffany. Thank you.
Oh, of course. Where does your journey begin?
I was born in Houston. I was raised outside, about an hour southwest, and I don't have many memories from childhood, actually. The ones that I do have are just not really fun. And so I grew up on a farm a little bit for the first half of my childhood, and then after that, I moved to like a lower middle class neighborhood, actually. My dad was a mechanic, and my aunt owns the business that he is a mechanic at. Anyway, that started to. We actually went from like total poverty. Like the house that I grew up in was condemned like a decade later. Not far enough from my childhood to make me feel very comfortable.
Oh.
Anyway, so like it just doesn't. Like I think there's photos from like 2007. It's already gone, and I'm like, anyway. So
You're like, wait, I lived in there.
Yeah, I don't know. It was supposed to be a historical landmark, I think. I remember there being a plaque or something. It's that old. It's not a good place for me. It's pretty awful. It felt. I mean, the only way that I can describe it. The funny thing is that people just when they describe torture, it's like they only envision that the incidences have to happen like within like back to back. The person has to be bound or something. But what is like if time is relative, truly? What is a day to a child if it's like only hours between beatings, right? If it's like 12 hours later, like, you know, you can't say it's only once a day. It's like, no, it's not. It's like once every 12 hours. You know what I mean? So and what else would you describe that as? If you had to live a life like that, what would you describe it as? Would you say they're separated, or would it just be this large mass of terror? That's what it is. Your whole life becomes terror.
Abuse is abuse. It doesn't matter how many times a day. If it was even once a day, abuse is abuse.
Yeah, that's what I mean. No, I would say that I would define it as torture. That's what I'm saying. I think it's a form of torture. I consider it a form of torture. If it's ongoing and it doesn't stop, it's torture. It's because especially when it's violent and physically, it's like, especially to a child. I mean, there's really no mental defense. There's no way to repudiate it. You have no evidence of worth when you're a child. You don't understand the concept of intrinsic value.
Oh, for sure. And most of the time you're wondering, what did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve this? You don't understand.
Yeah, and so I really have a difficult time reconciling the notion that we just call it abuse when, especially if it's happening every day, then that transcends abuse.
I completely agree. Were you the only child?
No, I was actually one of four. But I got the worst out of everybody, like by a Texas mile. It's quite a bit.
Were you the oldest?
No, I was the third actually, but I was the oldest boy though. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So is this for mom, dad, both?
Dad. Yeah. Well, yeah. So sometimes both, but it was mostly my dad. Like, yeah, probably about 90% of it, I would say.
Yeah. Did he have like a drinking problem or anything like that?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if he still did. Last time I saw him, he did. He's just aggressively incurious. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so irritating to be around someone who is so obstinate, and also violent. I mean, he actually called me a stupid piece of shit. Like that's what he's actually. Like the last time I talked to him, he told me that, like, he called me that over the phone because I was asking for his help to get my car across the border into Canada. I ended up having to sell the car to pay for the storage fees because I had to leave it there for so long. I've tried to have something of like a serious conversation with him about everything that happened, and in some weird way reconcile. But he did not want to do that, and he didn't want to accept responsibility, which I thought was cowardly.
I see that a lot. Either they deny that it ever happened, like you made it up, or they just come up with other excuses.
Yeah. Yeah, Catabran. Yeah, and it manifested. It actually partly responsible for the reason I had Tourette's, because Tourette's can be induced. It's like if there's already a thin veil between you and this condition, abuse can erode that defense, that bulwark. You start having I have OCD, and I punish myself so much. Like my Tourette's makes me hit myself in the mouth and face so much. I'm actually talking to people to get a mask, so like a hard mask, like that I can wear half my face, because I don't hit my eyes when I'm wearing my glasses, and I think that has to do with the fact that growing up, because we were really poor, I had to wear glasses growing up. I don't now. I have actually LASIK, so I have 20/20 vision, but I still have to wear these because otherwise I'll poke myself in the eye. Like I'll literally, because of Tourette's, and I hit myself in the throat all the time like that. But I do it really, really hard, and I busted both my lips in the last week. I've given myself black eyes, and so I'm trying to get like a thing to cover my face. And partly this was induced. I mean, it's a perfect synthesis of catastrophe, like catastrophic versions of all of these conditions synthesizing to create a perfect storm of like what the Tourette syndrome is. So it's all of these different comorbidities with like anxiety, depression, OCD, and ADHD. All of these really exacerbate one another for me. And the Tourette's, it's one of those, like, it's a positive feedback loop.
I think the more we do research, we notice that more of these disturbances, behaviors, mental illnesses, all that do stem from that, even bipolar. Like, there's reasons why people develop these things. And I think they're coping mechanisms that we pick up.
Yeah. They're generated out of despair. And that's what makes them so potent and so difficult to remove, is that it is the rickety defense that we built out of steel. It's not very well constructed because we're children when we make them. But these are walls of steel that we were working with, and we made it as haphazardly as we did. And it's a dilapidated structure, but it's not going anywhere. But and so like it's something that you really have to be. It's a very deliberate deconstruction.
Do you remember what age your Tourette's came on?
Yeah, I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, which is outside of what the criteria for the DSM-5 says.
Have you sought out therapy and stuff to work through all of your past and all that, to try to maybe put your body at ease?
That's the thing. I've had to do a lot of therapy, and though that a lot of my self-worth has so far been self-generated. If you can imagine, I'm like a much more, maybe not much more, but a little bit more socially self-aware person than Andy Bernard from The Office. His character, how he was raised by his dad, and he's like, I don't care that you're some manager at a rinky-dink paper supply company. He was like, when are you going to stop seeking my approval? I am Andy Bernard, basically, just a tiny bit more self-aware. And less capricious, and I think more conscientious of my people.
I'm so sorry that your father called you that, but you are not a dumbass, right? Like,
No, that's no. This is the irony. He's just oh man, I'm not very much like my parents.
Do you have a relationship with your mother?
No, I don't. I don't talk to either of them. I've discovered also there's abandonment, the traditional abandonment where the parent leaves, and then there's the abandonment that is we derive from a parent that's supposed to protect us and they don't.
No,
And
I see that a lot. Yeah. The mom looks the other way, and that's just as bad as the person who's doing it.
And if you think that you're ever going to be able to like dismiss that prejudice without their apology, without sincere contrition from the person who neglected to save you from that, you're kidding yourself. That relationship is going to always have that infection until something gives. So you're going to address it now, because it's like one of those things you can decide to live your whole life worrying about, or you can just say, yo, are you going to... No? Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially your mom is supposed to be the one to protect. Unfortunately, sometimes that parent is also being abused and they're scared to do anything, but you said she kind of partaked, so that kind of knocks her out of that one.
Well, she too is a coward in her own way. That's the problem. Yeah. And so it's actually funny. The thing that actually ended our relationship ultimately was the fact that I sent her my book, and she never read it. And she doesn't have a job. She would just sit all day and watch movies. The same movies over and over again. The same Kevin James movies, which are fine. I actually cried during that one where he does the UFC fighting and he somehow gets in a relationship with Salma Hayek. I did. Admittedly, I did. Anyway, yeah. So I sent her my book.
To cry.
I know. I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that people think it's a Kevin James movie, that it's not going to have substance. That's just rude. Kevin James is probably a very lovely guy, and that's why I think the same thing about Adam Sandler. People don't like Adam Sandler either. For some reason, they think he's stupid, but that guy is very funny. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He truly is very funny. And he just doesn't care. He's gonna make what he wants, and I love that. So I sent her my book. She never read it. And then there was a whole thing where she tried to pretend that that I had told her when she wasn't able to understand or comprehend what I was saying. And then it was a whole bunch of excuses anyway. And then I was like, my work is the most important thing in my entire life. There's nothing I consider more. I give more consideration to. I love my work, and I treasure it.
Yes, you are a distinguished author. You've written 3 books.
I've written. It was supposed to be volumes, or it was supposed to be 2 volumes, right? 2 different books. I was going to give away volume 1 because I didn't want to feel like I was selling anything, and I didn't want people to think I was selling them something. So I wanted to give away the first 11 chapters, which is like 150,000 words. The Hobbit's 95,000 words. If you guys just need a comparison, and volume 2 they could buy. And I considered my work, I was trying to make it a cultural contribution. So in that sense, I price it like the government would, where like I don't make a profit. So like then but only on the hardcover. So like for the paperback and for the digital version, I sell for as low as possible because I want as many people to have it as possible. But the hardcover is the way the people support me, and they buy that because it's like $39 and I make like $13 on each one. So
Yeah, the book is called The Second Son, and I saw that there was a volume 1, and then there's another one that has volume 1 and 2, and then you also wrote Liam Earns a Friend.
Oh yeah. I wrote a kid's book for my last landlord. We lived in like a mother-in-law situation house, and on their land, they were very lovely people, and they had a grandson, and I wrote him a kid's book, and my now ex, she was doing she did the art and some of the stuff, and then we came together and put the book together. I gave it as a gift, and then I showed it to a few people just because I thought it was cute, and they said, you should publish this, and I was like, all right. So I published it, and it's about a boy that finds a dinosaur egg in a frozen lake, and then from the dinosaur egg, a dinosaur is born. And the mother finds out that one of her eggs survived because all the other ones did not make it. So this is the only one that survived, and it's a runt. So she says, you can't play together anymore because I need to protect the baby. Because the baby's like... So in order to earn that friendship, he makes them gifts of sweaters and some other stuff to show that, like, show his affection for them is sincere. And he knits it himself and all that stuff. And then he takes it to them. And then the mother is like, she trusts him because for that reason. And so it ends with saying, like, even though something about they all got to play, the best part of it was he made 2 friends that day or something. Something like that. But that, yeah.
It's beautiful. I love that. It's a happy story.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, I think it imparts something that often we really fail to describe in terms that children understand death. It's hard to measure what impact it's going to have because you really just don't always understand conceptually how they see things. Some things they're very literal about, and other things that they just think they're not, and they apply like 3 layers of logic to get to this like weird opinion where they're like, the mountains, they come from mud, and they're I don't know, it's something ridiculous. They're peanut butter. It's peanut butter. I don't know the reason why.
Obviously, being a survivor of child abuse, for many, it ends up replaying when you get older into your relationships.
Yeah. There's so many factors that contribute to that insecurity, though. It's hard to say that it's, if anything, it's the first trench that ends up becoming eroded into a wide river of insecurity. You know, I think it breaks ground for that sort of thing, which I think is an important, well, not important, but salient point.
Absolutely. I was a product of generational abuse. And so you get that, and then it's kind of embedded in your brain. And then I sought out friends and relationships that did the same thing. So it's patterns.
Yeah. And the thing is that, like, it's funny because on top of having like Tourette's, like the way that Tourette's manifests is like emotional dysregulation. Honestly, in the same way that I can't stop myself from doing certain things, like saying things and moving. My emotions are it's total anarchy often, and so I have to contend with like really intense emotions. Like I sometimes will just like I'll be reading something and I'll just start crying about like something that's really beautiful or something that, but it's just like, it's really intense. And it just happens out of nowhere often. And so I realized that I was having these extremes in every way. Like I have extreme highs where I have so much self-confidence. I'm like, I'm going to be one of the greatest. I'm like Ali, you know, I'm just walking around, I'm the greatest. And then like to the point where like, I'm like Van Gogh, where I'm like, believe like I'm worthless and nobody's going to buy my stuff and no one's going to care. And so many insecurities. And so you experience them in all directions. And I think that people like to experience that super high, but there's something that I learned recently about the dopamine and all that. And the stuff that makes you happy is derived often from stimulation. And so reducing stimulus, like during the day as much as you can, is like paramount, because it's like anything else with alcoholism, with any other drug. You take enough of it and do it long enough and your tolerance grows. Dopamine receptors are the same way. So if you're like constantly stimulating yourself, yeah, you're getting the dopamine, but it's like
not enough.
It's hitting like a toll booth. And he's just a stubborn toll booth operator. I don't know. No.
Obviously, we all go through ups and downs in life. You know, everyone has their moments of insecurity, and
it's healthy to have those.
I mean, sometimes you got to put yourself in your own in place.
You should. Yeah, I mean, modesty is important too. to try, to attempt.
Yes.
Anyway,
do you have a relationship with your siblings?
I have a brother, and he and I, he's very lovely and very helpful for me. And but my sisters, I don't really talk to. My sister, my second to the oldest sister, the one just above me. She's very lovely and has but I haven't really talked to my oldest sister very much. Just 'cause she's my half sister, but no.
Gotcha.
But I've never considered her a half sister since
Right.
she was like, no, she was always there, so it was like sister.
It's strong to have somebody in your corner. You need somebody.
Yeah, so I have my brother, and that's honestly he's been more than enough. Honestly, I have plenty of friends I've made now through my work. So many, actually, it's really extraordinary. Like recently, the reason why I have all of this soundproofing stuff, because I have Tourette's and I yell. I don't want to like disturb other people, so I have like soundproofing stuff in this room, and I have that because people that like my work have bought it for me and sent it to me, and then like they sent me with a bunch of groceries and stuff, like a bunch. In fact, this is actually, I have these. These are all the Amazon tickets of packages I've gotten in the last month or so. This is all different. There's like 50 in here. Yeah, these are all different packages. Every single one of these is one. and they because I needed it. I said that Catamaran, because I have Tourette's. I'm disabled, right? Because I can't. I'm a huge liability. Anyway, for a lot of reasons, to myself even. There was like it's hard like to live on that sometimes, and I was talking about that, and they sent me a lot of help, an extraordinary amount of help, so I can do like very important things, and it really, I buy my medication, for example, like it's that it was that dire, right? So they were very kind.
Medication's good. Well, good thing you live in Canada. So your healthcare is free.
Yeah, it's pretty Catamaran. It's pretty amazing. I'm very lucky for that reason. Canada's been a great place for me anyway. British Columbia, especially, they have so many free therapy things, and I'm the kind of person that actually struggles a lot with chronic suicidal ideation, and so sometimes I am calling the crisis line like twice a day, because I'm that distraught, and that's something that I talk about too, like on like social media, because there's a couple of things that are really important to me. That's to unmake the notion that art is made by the disturbed. It's not because we're disturbed. It's because we're healthy. The creative part, that component, yeah, it wounds, I think, our ability to process reality in a way that's healthy or that's sustainable emotionally, because I experience it so intensely. Like even when I'm writing, like I was writing earlier today, and I was writing a really sad scene, and I'm just like, they're crying. Because I know it's like it's a whole thing, and yeah, anyway.
Oh, you're fine. If people wanted to follow you on social media, which ones are you on? There's only like a million of them now.
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. Like that's where most of my stuff is, and Instagram. Really, I don't really do any of the other ones, but I think the stuff that I post to Instagram is also posted to what's it called, into Facebook.
TikTok,
maybe, I don't know.
Oh,
No,
Facebook.
Yeah. So maybe. But yeah.
I just actually realized that if you link your Instagram and TikTok together like that, I don't think that was a thing before, because that's like mostly what I use too. TikTok and Instagram. Facebook, meh, here and there. Mm-hmm. Twitter, could care less. I'm still calling it Twitter. I ain't calling this shit X. Like, come on.
What is the deal with what? Yeah.
And Threads, nope. I don't need any more. I'm good.
Yeah, it's just, I think that everybody's trying to like, snip away at their interactions with with very emotionally charged strangers.
Yeah.
People that are looking to, disrupt someone's day. Doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily be trolling. It's a kind of trolling, though.
I like to use it for encouragement and empowerment. I post a lot of motivational things for, when people are having a bad day, things that help you realize that you are important, that you are worth it, that you are smart. Try to lift people up instead of the people who are always trying to bring everybody down. We have enough negativity in this world.
Honestly, I think a lot of people are reflecting on how they respond to events. It seems like a lot of people are trying to see more nuance in things. But there's always going to be like a very reactionary, or kind of a big planet with a lot of gravity, that is capable of generating like a very biased understanding of what's happening.
Hurt people like to hurt people. So if they are going through something, some people want to bring other people down with them. And ain't nobody got no time for that.
I think, yeah, and what's funny is that we're talking like this, but like these, honestly, most of the time these people aren't even aware that that's what they're doing. They have no idea that they're doing that thing because of that reason. And that's why I'm trying to have more compassion towards people, even when they're making the mistake, unless it's like to the point of maliciousness. Like you can't negotiate with that. That's not working in good faith. But the people that are very reactionary, those people are kind of like me, because I have Tourette's. Like Tourette's is hard. Like, so I react to something. Sometimes I react like really, like it's really intense for me, like emotionally. You know what I mean? So like whatever I'm thinking, whether sad, angry, happy, whatever, it doesn't matter. So it could be really intense for me. So like I would want that consideration for the reason that I operate otherwise in good faith, and it's we consider, it's so funny that we consider like everything that we do in life a sort of moral affirmation, like we are doing this thing because we're moral. But I don't like to apply, I don't think it's healthy to apply a moral judgment to symptoms. And so whenever people are, like you said, hurt people, if those people are true and their want to like be better, I think that we should welcome that, especially for people that it's conditional. You wouldn't like you wouldn't have those symptoms if you didn't have the condition, right? Does that make sense? Like I wouldn't have Tourette's if I didn't have Tourette's. Like if I have Tourette's though, like it's real. Like, and so I have all of the symptoms of Tourette's, and if I didn't have all of them, then I wouldn't have Tourette's, but I do. So that means all my symptoms are real. I think there needs to be a kind of a sort of reckoning in that sense, and that's what's happening. I think is that a lot of people are reconsidering the fact that people try to grow. Like I think, imagine if J.K. Rowling said, "I believe that trans women are women." I think that everybody would just be really relieved. I honestly don't think they would like give her any more crap about it, like that, because that she deserved, frankly. So, but so you can't hold prejudice. You shouldn't be able to hold prejudice. The whole world is trying to convince you that the prejudice is not good. So stop it, right? It's not. We're not just not nothing, right? It's not just nothing. It's a serious thing, and that's why they're mad. So it's like, okay, so if she came out and said, "All right, trans women are women," and I believe that, and I'm sorry, everybody'd be like, "Oh my god, okay, everybody get the posters back up." We're gonna find them. We're gonna go find them, and there's gonna be. She would be everywhere, honestly. And that's what I'm saying is that I feel like we get tired of hate, and so we welcome growth, because I think it offers with it a corollary of safety, of some kind of notion of security and understanding.
Brings new beginnings. Who doesn't want a new beginning?
I don't think anybody would. If they said they could wipe and start over, they would. 100%.
Absolutely. Emotions are strong, and sometimes people don't understand the power of their words and their actions.
Most people are very, like, they're just, it's not that they're malicious. It truly is that they don't Most people do not understand the effect they're having. But when it's prolonged, like I said, this doesn't mean that you just forgive everyone all the time forever. It means that you measure your compassion and you measure that forgiveness, because you can't, and that you have to be very deliberate with it and not so reactionary with it, right? So when you consider, like, when someone tries to text you and to reconcile, you're going to have an emotional response like, oh, I want to do this, say this, or I don't want to say that. Or you have to consider the nature of the message independent of your feelings. So you have to just wait a little while. And then, it's just important to be responsible with that. So like, I definitely wouldn't encourage you to keep trying if they're just going to keep hurting you. But I would say, honestly, if they do it more than 3 times, it's fuck off. Like, it's over. Like, seriously, I have no interest anymore. Like, truly, you can't, especially if it's something really important to you. Like me, I had the book, right? That was like, and there's nothing more important to me than my work. I describe it, I love my work more than the sum of my love for all other things.
You put pride into it. You put your heart and soul into that.
Oh my gosh. Thousands of hours of work went into writing this book. And like, it is so much of it is, I cried over a lot of it because it was very important for me to get it right. There were a lot of nights that I spent, like, I crying myself to sleep thinking no one would read it. And now, like, a lot of people have read it. Actually, they say that some of the people that have reviewed it actually said it's one of the greatest adventures. So they compared it to the greatest adventures of all time, The Odyssey, Lord of the Rings. And that's very flattering. Yeah, I actually had a guy who's an aerospace engineer. So the guy's a rocket scientist. And he messages me and he said, I just want you to know that your book is my second favorite book of all time now. And I was like, wow. And as a kid that grew up in Texas, there's the Southern, you ain't no rocket scientist. Like, that was the expression. Like, so like in my head, a rocket scientist is the pinnacle of human brilliance. So like, he's a rocket scientist telling me he said my first favorite book is The Martian because it's professional. It's about going to Mars and rocket science. He said, but yours is my second favorite. And I was like, well, what was it before? And he said, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And Douglas Adams. Yeah. And so I've had so many very outrageous and flattering things and messages and an immense amount of support from like a relatively small number of people. I only have about 5,000 followers, but they were able to help me get like hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. They gave me $150 worth of gift cards to Tim Hortons so that I could go, because it's like the only thing that I have to, like, because I'm poor. They would give me I would always go and get a coffee, but that's like all I could afford was like a $2.57 coffee every morning. And so when I didn't have even that amount of money, I had like 29 cents in my bank account. They sent me like all that money and then a bunch of food. I have like 3 boxes of this cat food from this because
my cat does that fancy feast.
Yeah, they sent me cat litter. They sent me two bags of cat food over there, 2 big cat food bags, and so much food, and it was incredible. And even before that, they sent me all this stuff I was saying earlier, the soundproofing stuff, and
that's amazing.
Yeah,
so you are touching people's lives. You need to realize that and be so proud of yourself.
And it's funny that you say that right now, because it's really funny, because I was thinking earlier that the fact that I've been doing these interviews, I realize that I feel the most good after I do these interviews. And I realize this because, like, that Andy Bernard thing I was referring to earlier, that I finally get people to tell me about my work, and I talk about my work and my life, and it's like therapy. It's amazing. I swear to God, it's like therapy. So every one of these, I'm scheduling the hell out of these everywhere. Like, so I feel amazing. I do my work otherwise, which is so, like, I get to do this and socialize, sort of. It's very self-centered, but socializing nonetheless. And talk about what I'm doing, and it's sort of it's a positive feedback loop.
Absolutely. And this is why I love doing this. Literally, with every single guest I have on, I learn about myself, I learn about the world, and it's educational and it is like therapy. And why the hell not do it? You need to know your worth. I can tell, and I've only known you for 43 minutes now, and I think you're fucking amazing.
Oh, wow. Well, I honestly, it's very deliberate. Because I have Tourette's, like there's a lot of principle that, like, I think that if there was one word that, like, that if I think that people, my friends, would say, is that I try really hard to be better every day. Like, I really do. Like, I make all my effort into being a better, nicer, more patient person, because I can be really impatient. And that's part of ADHD and Tourette's and all the other stuff. And all of these, again, like, synthesized to create, like, a problematic social life. I put all of my heart, like you said, into this. And now I'm doing, like, volume 3, and I'm just as careful, if even more so, than I was when I wrote this. And so much of, I don't know, there's just so much of it that describes what my experiences were. Like, I have a passage about a little boy that I don't know where it is, actually, but I know that it's in here. And it's about a little boy that realizes that he has people that love him, and because he was basically abandoned, and so it's really quite lovely. But anyway, but so much of the characters are meant to describe facets of who I am, and I think that what we're capable of being, even with good intentions. I think the most important quality to my work. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, it's an incredible movie, but it describes the notion to me that it imparts most that the character is the most important quality to a story, and it is true. It's true. There's nothing more. No one cares about what's happening. The only reason they care about what's happening around them, the characters, is because of how it'll affect their character. So, like, the world could be planets being destroyed, and who cares? Who cares if, like, there's no what's there? What's there? Is there something there? No, they're not gonna just look at it and go, "Oh, darn." Unless you're an astronomer and you're like, "Oh, I love Cassiopeia." Oh no.
Yeah. The characters, they're important.
Oh yeah, no, they're most important. Yeah, the most important thing. And so, like, whenever in my work I have a character, like, they're going to feel every single time like a real person, like, truly rounded. I even have a guy that's only in there. I wrote like 4 paragraphs about a guy who is about to die. You've never met him before, and he's just, and it talks about how he's part of the rebel group. That's because in my book it's actually democracy overtaking fascism. So the rebellion and the takeover, the successful takeover is democracy winning. And so, like, instead of, like, everybody worrying about fascism coming, it's fascism dying, and, like, how that would look, if in a more positive sense, like, but it's still very violent and very unjust in many ways. Often, most of its value and capabilities are derived from greed of a few that are sort of puppet to making everything their puppet in that sense. And so this character is a part of the rebel group, and the reason why he joined is he didn't have anywhere to go. He couldn't make anything for himself. His parents had died, and he had no money. So he joins the theater because he falls in love with it, and then he becomes part of this rebel theater group that causes trouble and everything. And eventually he gets drafted into the rebel army, and then because of all the chaos, he gets sent to this place where he dies. It describes how he had in his pocket a play called The Brittle Lord Piddle, and what character he played, and then it says, and then he dies. He just dies. But it's like, there's a whole thing. It's very important everyone feels like they have substance, because everyone does have humanity. Even the people that you think are I don't know. These people wouldn't do these antisocial things unless they had something wrong with them. You know?
Right. I mean, at least you'd hope so.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some people are just born evil, but I think
Yeah, that's what I mean.
usually, yeah,
Hmm.
usually it's something that triggers the evil. But you have the other
Hmm.
people who were born in lovely homes and they didn't have
Hmm.
any of this stuff and they're just plain evil.
Ted Bundy was like that. He said he grew up in a really lovely house. Like he said he had nice parents, all that stuff. Yeah, you're right. That's the thing. And that's where you have to like make the distinction, like, because they have to make the effort. If they don't apologize and like show true contrition and make true efforts, like to be better, and they're not, it's somewhat consistent. It's got to be consistent to some extent, right? It really
Absolutely.
does. Like, it really does. Like, because otherwise you can't. If they're doing it shamelessly, you have to drop them through a trap door.
hit that button. Eject.
Eject, yeah. Yeah, catamaran.
So if somebody wants to buy The Second Son, where can they find it? I saw it on Amazon, I think Goodreads, or no, it's called Goodthreads.
Goodreads, yeah. Goodreads is Amazon owned kind of repository of all the books that have ever been on the thing. And yeah, it's on Amazon and it's on a bunch of places. If you look it up, on Amazon it's gonna be like probably the cheapest. Because that's where it's published, or whatever. So
Very good. Was there anything else that you wanted to add?
Oh, you know what? I did want to say the last thing that I always like to say at the end is justice and redemption are folly, but to seek them is not.
I like that. Well, you keep taking care of yourself. You hear me? Know your worth, sir.
Thank you, Tiffany. You're very kind.
No, you're amazing, and you need to know that. Screw all the haters. Haters gonna hate, just like Taylor Swift says.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, so frankly, yeah. For her too, I sympathize a little bit. You know, she did extraordinary work in getting people 18 to 25 registered for vote, and she in Tennessee she brought up the voter registration rate 50% in that demographic, which is extraordinary, statewide, extraordinary work. So she's at least discerning.
I want to thank you so much for being here. This was a pleasure. I want to keep in touch.
I know. Yeah, that was really nice. Tiffany, you're great.
Oh, thank you. I think you're great too. All right, and that is going to wrap up this episode. Seriously, you guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to me. I think we can all agree that we probably have that one friend that really needs to hear this message. So make sure that you share it with them. If you want to get more of me, hey, make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok. And I want to know, has one of my episodes made an impact on you in any way? Like, for real, I really want to know. So, if so, go to my website, truecrimeconnections.com, or you can email me, podcast@truecrimeconnections.com. I want to talk to you guys. Come talk to me. Let's do the damn thing. Keep finding hope and building strength. Until next time.